Well, hi, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and welcome to our Sunday broadcast. And as usual, on Sundays, we bring the temperature down a little bit. We just relax and get ready for the coming week. It is the time to just bring the heart rate down and enjoy your life. For those of you who are Canadian, happy Thanksgiving. And for those of you who are American, don't worry about it. We know yours is in November. So for those of you who might be new to the broadcast, and for those of you who might be watching it on the replay, just to let you know, we do 3 broadcasts in a week. We do one on Friday lunchtime, Pacific time, where we do a learning broadcast. And then we improve our skills, mostly around emotional intelligence. And then what we do is on Friday evenings, we laugh together. And then on Sundays, we have the Soul Sunday, which is actually one of my favorite ones. I love doing this. So hi there, Danana, and hi, Jody. Welcome. I found some quotes today that I thought you'd enjoy, but in the meantime, I wanted to tell you a story. I went shopping yesterday, and whilst I was in the lineup, and obviously with it being Canadian Thanksgiving weekend, the store was pretty darn busy. But whilst I was in the lineup, there was a really interesting lady behind me. Well, that's what I felt. I don't know if you've ever done that where you go, wow, there's a lot to that lady. Anyway, so being who I am, I smiled and I got a reaction back. Hi, Sarah, and thank you for the compliment. And I got a smile back from her, which was a pretty good indication that I was on safe ground. And it was the way she smiled. It was not just sort of, it was really, a tilted head type smile. And so I started to chit chat about her. Her basket looked a lot healthier than mine did, or whatever it is that I found that we had in common, or we both had bought the same something. I can't remember how I started the conversation, but the more I talked to her, the more I was aware that there was a reason why I was talking to her. Have you ever had that feeling? It's important that I talk to her. So I carried on chit-chatting and being my incredibly stupid self. And then we got to the fact that I had finished my checkout and I was about to leave. And as I turned to leave, I said to her, "It's so nice to meet you," because it was true for me. And she said, oh no, I lie. Before that, something happened, and she told me that her husband had died, like within the month. She was in the first month of her husband having passed. And so when I went to leave and I heard her say to me, "Happy Thanksgiving," I turned and I looked at her and I said, "I'm not going to be stupid enough to say the same back." And she smiled. And I said, "I wonder if I could give you a hug instead." And I did. And then I asked her, "Tell me something. How many people say the stupidest things to you at this time?" And she looked and smiled, a deep smile at me, and she said, "Gazillions." I said, "I hope I wasn't one of them." She said, "Absolutely not." So I gave her another hug and I said, "Do the best you can," and left. And by the way, I found out in that conversation somewhere that she actually was involved in grief counseling at one stage. So so being who I am, I said, "So you know it all?" And she said, "Well, not really." And I said, "Wait a minute, that didn't come out the way that I meant it to." I didn't mean to say you were a know-it-all, which had her laughing, of course. And that was my wish for her. So what I wanted to just give you a heads up about is the fact that sometimes you have to listen to what your body is telling you, what you feel. And I really felt I needed to talk to that lady. And I am so glad I did. And I did say that it was really so nice to meet you. And I wonder who you will meet this week. I wonder who you will say something meaningful to, as opposed to, can you imagine how I had to control myself from not replying and happy Thanksgiving to you too? I really needed to think before I opened my mouth, and then just said, I'm not going to say the same back. Obviously, because there's no way that's going to be true for you. Just do the best you can. Oh, Sarah's saying she calls that feeling discernment. Well, it was a twofer, if you like, Sarah, because, first of all, I felt I needed to talk to her. And then that was the answer. Nana's also saying that it happened to her one day when she was, and she was on her first journey out after her husband had passed. Yeah. So, we talk a lot about tuning in to more than just yourself. And I would recommend you do that. All right, having done that story, and I hope some of you enjoyed it, be aware of who you meet this week. I quite often find, and I don't know if any of you do, but I quite often find that if I'm really aware of what's going on around me as I shop or do whatever, I get lessons all over the place. Surprising ones, quite honestly. All right, so here are some quotes. I like to listen. I have learned a great deal from listening carefully. Most people never listen. It was really strange. I had reason this week to be talking with Benji about something. And in doing that, I was listening to what he was telling me, and that really, what came up for me was to remind him of some stuff from way back when. And, it was amazing to watch his change. And when we finished the conversation, he actually thanked me for bringing up those memories because it helped him regroup and realize where he was, what he was doing. And I was so happy for that. I am very fortunate to to have that. Sweet is a memory of distant friends, like the mellow rays of the departing sun. It falls tenderly, yet sadly, on the heart. So for those of you who this year may spend your Canadian Thanksgiving in memory of distant friends, either they're not with you this year or they will never be with you for Thanksgiving, except they will always be with you for Thanksgiving. My heart feels for you. That's what I would say. And Nana, seeing as you're here, how was the turkey, or do you not know yet? Nana was having an issue with turkeys. How many of you relate to this one? There is not a word yet for old friends who you have just met. How many of you have met people and you feel like you've known them a lifetime? And there's not a word yet for old friends who we have just met. And some of you in my world, here in DearMamaSal world, when I met you, I felt like I'd known you forever. when I met you, it was amazing how quickly I went from unknown person to, wow, this person's going to be in my life for a long time. And on this Canadian Thanksgiving, I would like to thank all of you who are viewers for the love and support you have given me. To me, it's really amazing that you have trusted me with so many of your stories, and you have allowed me to use your stories to help other people. And, to me, it's like that is a great friendship, and I thank you for that. Don't make friends who are comfortable to be with. Make friends who force you to raise yourself up. How many of you, you know, you'll hear me talk about it time and time again. One of the things I love about my friend Marnie is we debate, and I always feel I have learned something more when I have been with her. We don't necessarily talk superficial things. We talk some pretty contentious things that I was told never to discuss in public. When I say never to discuss, but politics and religion and all those things that we were told, don't discuss them. And, she is so comfortable to discuss those things with, because she debates. She doesn't, we don't do this right and wrong thing. We just go, what do you think? Interesting. Why? Interesting. Yeah. Well, here's what I think, if you want to know. And if you don't, you're still going to hear. So part of me goes, think about not just having friends that are easy to be with, have friends who challenge you a bit. And I must say that in the friends that I have, the very close friends that I have, we challenge each other. Now, that is kind. It's interesting, isn't it? Because we all give to one another. Jody's thanking me for what I do for so many, and wishing me happy Thanksgiving. But I always say to people, it's not just me. DearMamaSal is not just me. If you guys didn't pitch up and give me input and come up with great subjects and so forth, we wouldn't do the work that we do. Dale Carnegie, of course, said that you can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you. I'm going to repeat that one. You can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can in 2 years of trying to get people to be interested in you. And Sarah, I know. Actually, Sarah, you came in under the name of Sarah, because last time I don't think you did. So welcome again. I've just realized that I was going to say that one of the things that I find so interesting is, where everybody finds out about us and where everybody's from. I have had my life enriched so much by all of you coming from different places not only in terms of Canada or the US, but around the world. And, I love it when I can feel that connection of, it doesn't matter where we are, we can still have friends. We may never meet them, but yet we meet them every week. And to me, I don't know about the rest of you, but to me, that's very precious. All right, now how about this one? A friend is somebody who understands your past, believes in your future, and accepts you just the way you are. And to me, I think that's really so true, all right? I don't want to dwell necessarily a great deal in my negative past. I've got some great fun past that I do like to talk about, I must admit. But I don't talk too much about my negative past, if I can help it, unless I use it to illustrate a point for somebody. But you know, I love believing in other people's future. How about you guys, right? I know that when I got diagnosed pre-diabetic, you know, I was amazed how Jody stepped up to the plate and said, "This doesn't define you." I mean, you know, it was just like, what? This will not define you. You're just going to learn to eat differently. And you can do it slowly. You don't have to do it in a week. And you know, it was such a great act of friendship. I always remember the days when I smoked, you know, and how many times did Benji walk into my smoke-filled house and still never complain about it, but always say to me, you know, if ever I apologized for the smoke or whatever, he would say to me, "Don't worry, because I know you will give it up one day when you are ready." And I did. So believe in other people's, you know, don't spend a lot of time in other people's past. You know, if they want to spend a lot of time there, you know, work hard at changing the subject so you can get away from it. Because not only will it pull them down, but it will pull you down with them. But, you know, we have a wonderful viewer here, Linda, who says she allows 10 minutes. After that, she doesn't want to hear anymore. And so she works at changing the subject, probably after about 5. All right. And, you know, I think it's a very good rule. But then start talking about people's future. Right? We've spent enough in the past. And then, hi, Jonas. Good to see you, honey. And thank you. Happy Thanksgiving, as I said, for all Canadians, and the Americans are all shaking their head going, "No, it's at the end of November." And I'm going, "Yeah, not for us, it isn't." Now, this one I thought was really cute. Some of you will relate to this. How many slams are there in that old screen door? Well, that depends on how loudly you shut it. How many slices in a bread? That depends on how thickly you cut it. And how much good inside a day? That depends on how good you live in. And how much love inside a friend? That depends on how much you give them. And how many of you have noticed that love comes in very strange forms sometimes? You've all had people who have demonstrated a loving act to you that probably was more meaningful for you at that moment, at that time of your life, than they will ever realize. And if you've got any examples of that, you know, feel free to share them. Hi there, Nyasha. And, you know, feel free to share them so that I can tell the stories if you'd like me to. You know, which people, if you're watching on the replay, you know, leave it in the comments. You know, people who did something for you, something maybe quite small, but because of where you were in your life at that time, it had a huge impact. And you considered it to be a great gift of love. And, you know, in that, it was so meaningful, way more meaningful than the person ever expected it to be. And funny enough, for my friend Patty, she will tell people almost every time she introduces me to somebody. I know she always says, you know, that I'm a phenomenal artist. You know, she always, you know, blows my mind. And then she will also say, and she chooses to spend her life helping other people. And then she will tell the story about the time when she was really in a very difficult time of her life. You know, when everything had gone wrong in her life and she literally was at the most difficult place she could be. And it was really strange. I went into my bedroom and I pulled out my checkbook and I wrote a check and I came out and handed it to her and I said, here, hope this helps a little. And she gave me back the check and said, I don't believe in charity, or something like that. Thank you, but I don't believe in charity. And I said to her, how incredibly selfish of you. She went, what? How selfish of you. I was feeling so good because I was in a position to be able to help you, and it made me feel great, and you threw it back at me. Shake your head a little. It's not all about you. Giving is a two-way thing, not a one-way thing. She never forgot that. So here's Sarah's story. Sarah's saying, I was very sick and about to go on an eating disorder rehab. The day I was leaving, my friend's father came to the house and gave me a picture of him and sat with me and hugged me. He has since passed away. It was the greatest act of love, and I will never forget it. He didn't have to do that. Well, Sarah, obviously we're sorry to hear that you had an eating disorder, but you're not the only one as part of the group. I don't know if you're aware of that. We have another very dear viewer who was, I'm trying to say was in the process of suicide by not eating. And yeah. And so, to me, it's like, it's really important that he didn't try to fix you, all right? He just showed you love. And I am so glad that he gave you that, because even though he has passed, I know that he is always with you. And I'm pretty sure that whenever you're feeling down on yourself, you replay that picture in your mind. Am I correct? That he is always with you when you are feeling scared. And you still have the photo. That's awesome. You see, he will always be with you. I'm sure that even if you lose the photo, you don't have to worry. He'll always be in your head. All right. I was saying to Jody last night, I went to my cupboard about 2:00 in the morning, and I grabbed some granola and milk. Now, I'm not meant to do that, at 2:00 in the morning, especially. And, I was busy going, Sal, you're not meant to do that. And then I heard Jody in my head going, it's a Thanksgiving weekend. Cut yourself some slack here. And I'm going, thank you, Jody. I literally, thanks, Jody. And I grabbed the granola. It's one excuse I didn't need, but it's one excuse that I had, and I was so thankful. Yeah. How about this? Oscar Wilde said, and I'd like your input on this. Oscar Wilde said, ultimately, the bond of all companionship, whether in marriage or in friendship, is conversation. How about that? What do you think? And Jody's saying, I was giving thanks for the granola. Yeah, I didn't want the granola to be lonely in that cupboard. Yeah. But it is amazing when I try so hard not to give excuses for things now, that when I do, I'm just going to, I know it's an excuse, but it's okay. I can blame Jody for this one. Yeah. And I just love that Oscar Wilde quote, right? I think friends are people you can talk to. And by the way, Nyasha, I see that you won't be commenting much because you're busy cleaning your room. Very adult behavior. Is it because you chose to or you were told to? All right. Isn't that a beautiful thing? Sarah's saying, I feel like my husband and I have the best conversations, ones I can't have with anyone else. Boy, I think that would have to be an incredibly amazing compliment to your marriage, that you feel that way. And I do hope that you thank him for that regularly. Reward that very good behavior. I think the fact you can have those conversations is absolutely wonderful. And Confucius, of course, said, what you do not want done unto yourself, do not do unto others. And, we know we've had the reverse of that quoted more often, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But, Confucius, I think, somebody wrote to me this week about something that they had said to a parent and asked me whether I thought it was rude. And the way that I checked it in my mind is, how would I have reacted if somebody had said that to me? And the answer was, I would have thought that was rude. Yeah. So I think it's a really good thing if you have a habit of not being quite sure whether what you're about to say is rude or not, or friendly or not. Just check in with yourself. If somebody said this to me, would it hurt me at some level? And if so, don't bother to say it. If you can possibly close your mouth before the words get out. And I know that we were talking about this on Friday, but there have been so many times when I didn't get my lips shut fast enough. And by the way, I've actually done it where those words came out and I immediately said, I'm so sorry. I have no idea where those words came from, but I don't like them because it's not what I meant to say. And I certainly didn't mean to be hurtful. And I'd like you, please, to let me apologize for that. Yeah. So, I think it's really important that you just ask yourself that question before you answer somebody. You will be a better friend to whoever it is that you're speaking to. Now, you guys know me pretty well. And as my very best friends always say to me, the reason that they appreciate me so much is because I tell them the truth. Okay. I always, if I want to say something that's not quite as nice, I will actually start smiling and I go, wait a minute, do you want the socially acceptable answer here, or do you want to know what I really think? So I've given them a heads up that what I'm about to say may not be, how do you like this dress? Do you want me to give the obvious answer, the socially acceptable one, or do you want to know what I really think? Because, sometimes people wear a dress that I really don't like, or they've just had a haircut and I don't like it. And so if that happens, I go, I've got to be quite honest, I'm certain it will grow on me. Hi, Beth. Life is always better when you come into our room. And Yeah. Oh, good. Sarah does the same thing, right? Sarah says that to her friends as well. Which answer do you want? The social one or the one that I'm really thinking? And it's like, I can remember Yvonne had long hair and suddenly she cut it into a bob about ear length. And, it was such a shock to me. And I went, I'm certain it'll grow on me right now. It's not doing it for me. Wow, Beth. Is it okay for me to repeat that? The important thing is to know that that's your body telling you something. Okay, Beth's saying it's a rough day. She's cried. She's cried 6 times and doesn't know why. If you did know why, what do you think it might be? Listen to that. Or immediately Miss Peanut, that's her little dog that passed. She misses her dog Peanut. And I'm working too hard. Well, that's a good reason to cry 6 times. What are you going to do about it, honey? Going to get another dog? That unconditional love that you deserve? I'm certain Peanut will be more than happy. And I'm certain there's a dog out there that desperately needs the level of love and understanding that you gave to Peanut. And you're working too hard. Yeah, rescue dog. That's what I'm going to do too. I think that's the reason I didn't get the other places, because it wasn't suitable for a dog. I would have to, do a lot of work to make it dog friendly. But Beth, we'd like to give you a hug. Yes, Beth. Beth said a rescue dog this time, and then said, she gave that a bit of thought and then said, more like a dog to rescue me. I think so too, Beth. Be selfish. Be very selfish. Get yourself a dog. I know how much you talk to Peanut. I know Peanut knew your darkest days. And I know that she just gave you a kiss and everything was much better. Not perfect, but much better, because Peanut was in your life. And so, how about that, Beth? By the way, you don't have to find the right dog the first time you go to the pound. I can remember when I first went looking for Bean Bean. It took me 2 months. Bud had died, and I went looking at the pound, and I made it a sort of like every Saturday afternoon I would go to the pound, and every Saturday I'd look and I'd go, no, the right dog is not here. But the 4th time I went, Beth, I realized this dog in cage 16 called Bina had been there the whole time, and he was a pretty mean looking bag of bones. For any of you who've seen my, I dedicated a video to him where I showed the pictures of where he, when I first got him, and that you could literally see all his, you could see all his ribs sticking out like this. And his muscles were not strong enough to hold his legs together. So I couldn't take him to the dog park, because if he did, he dislocated things. And so for 3 months, I did nothing but build him up and strengthen his muscles and do all sorts of things like that. And, I will never forget, Beth, when I took him to the vet to have him checked over, because I was really concerned about this problem with his muscles. I can remember that even the vet's assistant looking over the reception desk and going, and what's your name? And I said, he'd like you to know his name is Bina. And she looked at Bina and she said, Bina, you have no idea how lucky you are. And I know that the next time I see you, you are going to look very different. And a year from now, I will not recognize you. Because your tail will be working so much, you will be such a happy dog, and you will have so much good weight on you, not bad weight. And I will sit there and probably cry. I cried. And she was right. How about this one? I don't need a friend who changes when I change and who nods when I nod. My shadow does that much better. There are times, when I talk with Jody, there are times when I actually have to remind her I don't need her to agree with me all the time. There are times when I actually say, okay, I better find somebody else to talk to about this for a second, because I know you're just going to support me. Every now and then we need somebody. Every now and then we need somebody to go, I love you dearly, but wake up. And it's so cute because I know Jody understands where I'm coming from. And it's not that I don't love her dearly. It's just like, wait a minute. She's letting me get away with too much here. And I really need somebody to help me get through this. And I laugh. And, in your own way, Jody, you still help me so much in doing that. Hi there, Kimmy. Welcome. That made me cry because... No, it didn't make me cry. I cried because... the real test of friendship is, can you literally do nothing with the other person? Can you enjoy those moments of life that are utterly simple? I find it interesting when I go and have lunch with friends. To me, the food is irrelevant. It's about it's just about being there. That's actually, thank you, Jody. That's so kind of you. Jody's saying there is a playlist on my channel, the DearMamaSal channel on YouTube, and it's called Rescue Dog Bina. So if you just type in Rescue Dog in my channel, it'll bring up that playlist for you, I think. It has 13 videos of part of his life. And those of you who were around at the time know that he was the funniest dog because he actually wanted to talk to the viewers. He used to, I'd be talking to you and you'd suddenly see his nose come up and his tail, you could see his tail because he was really tall, but it was just like, it's those people again, isn't it? And I always remember there was one Christmas video I was doing and he just got in the way of the camera. And he kept being in the way of the camera. Kimmy, Nana's left already, just so that you know. All right. Anyway, I just wanted to thank you, Jody. It was very kind of you. I appreciate it. In everyone's life, at some time, our inner fire goes out. It is then bursts into flame by an encounter with another human being. We should all be thankful for those people who rekindle the inner spirit. Do any of you relate to that? Do any of you relate to, you can be feeling down and then you can be talking to somebody and they lift your spirits, but without trying to. It's just their very being lifts their spirits. I find it really interesting. I have to admit, I'm very selfish in lots of ways. I find helping people lifts my spirit. For example, I was helping Benji with something that he's doing this week, and it really made me feel good to do that. I then had a call this morning from one of my other sons, Cisco, and I was talking to him about something, and that lifted my spirit. And so think about that. All right, and this one, I am certain some of you not only fit into this category, but also have people in your lives that fit in it. A loyal friend laughs at your jokes when they're not so funny and sympathizes with your problems when they're not so bad. How many of you have done that? You're listening to somebody's problem, and inside you're thinking, boy, you think that's a problem? You should hear what I've got on my list. But it's not about that. As I keep trying to remind the viewers, right, everybody's learning at their own speed. So what is a major problem for somebody else might not be a major problem for you. I was saying to somebody yesterday when they were asking me about what's happening with the house, I said, I could in the next 2 weeks be starting all over again because the deal that I've got on the table might fall through because, it could happen. And I said, I guess, and they go, oh gosh, that's terrible. And I go, no, actually, it isn't that terrible. You see, the reason it's not terrible is I've been discussing this with my close friends for months, about, okay, let's think about this. What is plan B and C and D? All right. And so therefore, what other people think is a horrific situation because they know that I, financially need to sell the house, it means that I'm going to have to change how I live even more. But you know something? It's a really nice problem to have. Sarah's saying we shouldn't compare. We all have our own stuff. It's individual. Yeah. Shouldn't is a guilt word, Sarah. So we're going to leave that word out of there. And I would say we all have our own stuff and everybody's learning at their own speed. So what I am experiencing today would have been horrific drama for me 20 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago. But with what I've been learning about how to control the drama, it's amazing. How many times Sarah's going, as I said that, I knew it was wrong. It isn't wrong, Sarah, but you can feel that the guilt is there, right? We shouldn't compare. We all do. Human nature. So it's like, let's work on doing it less. I love it that you can, the fact you can tell the truth on that, Sarah, that you could say, put in writing as soon as I said that I knew it was wrong. That tells us that you have a great sense of humor. Because you understand only people who can deal with that reality could actually type that. I need to work on not saying that, right? We all do. How about the fact if I said to you, Sarah, you have to? And you're probably going, no, I don't. Excuse me, I'll probably get zipped for that. Never mind. Muhammad Ali said, friendship is the hardest thing in the world to explain. It's not something you learn in school. But if you haven't learned the meaning of friendship, you really haven't learned anything. I don't know about you, but I literally do turn around to my friends and query why they actually have me as a friend. You know what I mean? It's like I'm going, I don't think I'd have me as a friend. I'm very opinionated. I don't shut my mouth when I need to sometimes. Um, and I think about it and I go, yeah, I'm not sure if I'd have myself. What is the meaning of friendship? Yeah, let's see what it is for everybody. I think, quite honestly, Sarah, in my view, I think the meaning of friendship changes for everybody. I know, and by the way, also, Sarah, is it not true that it also changes with where you are in your life? Right? I know an awful lot of people who think a friend is somebody who commiserates with them, right? Who lets them whine for 5 years, They think that's the ultimate in a friend. And I guess there was a time in my life when I thought that too. I would say today that for me, a friend is somebody who doesn't let me whine. They allow me to vent. There's a difference. Vent is a blah, 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 sort of upchucking of your negative thinking. But that's healthy because you need to get that out to be able to work on the good stuff. But I really think, Sarah, that friendship is different for different people at different times in their life. That would be, what do the rest of you think? Has your perception of friendship changed in your lifetime? I know that, and I say it regularly, that the number of friends certainly has. I can remember in my 20s, I thought the value of my self-worth was the number of friends that I had. Yeah, I really did. So I had so many friends. There was a time in my life when I was famous. And I assure you, I literally knew a lot of people. I could walk through the airport and people would stop and talk to me. And they weren't friends. Yeah, that's Sarah saying, I see now that you say that mine have too. Yeah, I thought I needed many friends. Now I have a few good ones. And I think that would also change, Sarah. What is a good friend? Right? I bet you that has changed over the years. It's all about quality now, not quantity. Yes, Jodi's saying, I totally appreciate it when my closest friends tell me I'm in the wine zone. I don't want to do that to them. And I may not be aware that I'm even in that zone. Yeah. You see, that to me, that takes a really good friend to say, do you want some cheese with it? But that's only after they've listened to you for a while, Jody, right? Because obviously you need to get it out, otherwise you wouldn't be whining. But the interesting thing is that you really have something going on if you're doing it. I like the vent session because I like to be able to say, excuse me a second, I need to vent. And the reason I need to vent is it really does help me clear the negativity out of my mind. And I don't need anybody to fix my vent, right? Unless I ask for help. But it's like I just need to get it out. All right, Saniesha saying, that's true. And that's so true, in fact. It depends on where you are in your life, because back then I used to willingly do any and everything to keep my friends. Now I realize it's more about me now. I don't need them. Well, we all need friends, but it's like, do you need the ones that you had? Sarah's saying, I vented to my girlfriend earlier, but then we moved on. No whining. So that was nice. Yes, venting is different, right? I just go, hang on a second, I need a vent. And I just go, and and then I go, stream of consciousness stuff, right? And okay, fine, I'm done now. Thank you. You see, I don't need anybody to interrupt it. I just need to be able to vent. It's healthy. It's so healthy. It's out of my as Jody and I always say that, I've only got two brain cells in there. I don't want too much messing them up, right? I don't need too much interfering with their, trajectory around my brain. They bounce. I need them to be able to bounce freely because there are only two of them and they need to connect pretty often. How many of you relate to that? And it was amazing when I was talking to that lady when I was shopping. Right in the middle of telling me something, she had that brain fog. And she looked at me and said, "I'm so sorry. Whatever I was saying just clean disappeared." And I said, "That would be perfectly normal when you're under the stress that you're under. And by the way, at my age, it's part of my regular day. So why don't we just carry on talking? If it comes back before we say goodbye, I'll hear it. And if it doesn't, it probably wasn't that important." She said, "Thank you." And I said, no, believe me, I know of what you speak. I've been there and I'm there regularly. I think this is an important one. Growing apart doesn't change the fact that for a while we grew side by side. Our roots will always be tangled. I'm glad for that. All right, I know that this was something I always remember Marnie telling me. We have friends for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And sometimes our paths will just meet and we move on. All right. But you're traveling this way, they're traveling that way. And so for a while we're together and then we move on to our for the rest of our lives. But I do seriously believe that for that very brief second that we were together, we learned something from each other. Yeah, we were there. We were angels in somebody else's life, even if it didn't feel like it. We taught that other person something and they taught us something. Yeah, Nyesha saying some can be manipulatory while others can be genius. I have had my fair share of both, but mostly on the manipulation side. Yeah, you see, the difference is, Nyesha, you can tell now what's manipulation. You can feel it. I think you always could feel it, but you didn't know what to do about it. And, the thing is that as you learn more and more, as your emotional intelligence increases, you will attract different friends, right? You actually will attract people who are healthier for you. When I meet people, I actually warn them. I'm like a rare wine. You're either going to really enjoy it or you're not. I find, that is true of me. And I warn people of that. You're either going to love me or you're not going to like me one little bit. And that's okay. And people will say to me, "How could you possibly say that?" And I said, "Experience." I didn't get all this white hair by not having some experience. I think this is a great quote. George Santana said, "One's friends are part of the human race with which you can be human." One's friends are part of the human race with which you can be human. Sarah, you say I'm cracking you up, but isn't it true? I mean, I have people who put me on a pedestal where I found, especially when I was performing, people would put me on a pedestal that was amazing. And I would go, I wonder if you could just lower that pedestal a little bit, because I want to tell you, I'm not nearly in that stratosphere that you're putting me in. I still have problems, doing this, and this, whatever it is that might be relevant to the conversation I was having, but you've got me on a pedestal from which I do not want to fall. So I just need you to lower it a little bit. Could you press the down button a bit just so I'm more in a real world? Yes, Sarah's saying, I don't understand why people think I'm a good friend. Yeah, and talk to your husband, right? Yeah, I think it's really important. And yet, I also know this, Sarah, and perhaps it's true for you as well, but my true friends look at me and go, why wouldn't I have you as a true friend? Right? You're the only one I know who tells the truth, even if it's going to hurt me, but you warn me that it might. You're the only one who, blah, 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 whatever it is for them. You see, it's very personal. I am part of a group of artists, and somebody put up a series of pictures that they'd done for their cousin. Apparently, their cousin had asked for a painting to be done with specific colors, and so they did about 4 different varieties, 4 different methods of painting in those colors, and then asked us, the group, which we thought we liked. And I saw all these answers from people, and I said, stop a minute. Who cares what we like? You're doing this for your cousin. Show these to your cousin. Ask your cousin which he or she likes. That's the only thing that matters here. And people go, wow, she's right. I'm going, it wasn't rocket science, people. She started the conversation with, I am painting these for my cousin. I don't know the cousin. I don't know what the cousin's taste is. I didn't even know at the start whether the cousin was male or female. But I'm amazed how many people will say that. I'm painting this for a friend of mine. Which one do you think she'll like? Well, how the would I know? I'm not your friend. I'm not a friend of your friend. I don't know what her taste is. And this, of course, Audrey Hepburn quote we have quoted before, and I will continue to quote her because I don't think we can ever hear it enough. For beautiful eyes look for the good in others. For beautiful lips speak only words of kindness. For poise, walk with the knowledge that you are never alone. That's very kind of you. Jodie's saying, it's comforting to have a true compass in this life, a true compass, all right? Lionel, Sal, wow, are both that for me. That is precious to me, and about a million other reasons. Yes, the same way. It's amazing. One of the reasons that, other than the fact that Jodie makes an unbelievably good admin for us all, she reminds me of things like the countdown, which we're about to do. But, not only that, but Jodie cares deeply. And so every morning, I actually hold myself accountable to Jodie. Right? I hold myself accountable to Jodie. I let Jodie know how many hours sleep I have because Jodie knows I'm trying to make sure I get enough sleep. I've got a lot of stress going on in my life, and it's easy to let the brain take over. So I want to make sure I get enough sleep. I am struggling with my left hip, so that is important. I let Jodie know how many leg lifts I can do. I'm up to 60 now. I'm so proud of myself. And, I started not being able to lift my left leg at all, past about 3 inches. And I can get it up to counter height in my kitchen. I just put my hands on my counter. Let's see if I can show you this. If this is my counter, I literally put my hands on the counter like this. Okay. And then I bring my legs up to hit my hand. Am I making sense? So I just hold my hands on the counter like this, and then I bring my legs up and I hit my knees. And I literally could not get halfway up when I started, and now I go 1, 2, 3, 4. I can do 60 now. Yes, and Jodie's saying she gets great success out of hearing my successes. Jodie, Jodie has lost over 100 pounds in the last year. There's part of me that hates her for that. Do any of you appreciate what I'm getting at? There's that little bit in my Amy that goes, but you know how hard she's worked to do that. And you know, I was looking, we have a fitness group, and where we put up, I'm glad you appreciated that, Sarah, because that's my honesty level, right? But you know, we put up, how many carbs we've had, how much protein, how many fats, and I look at Jodie's little thing, and she's got all these fats and tiny little bit of carbs, and my carbs are still 50%. But as Jodie keeps reminding me, a year ago they were a lot more than 50%. So I am changing, and I thank her for that friendship. Never idolize others. They will never, isn't that funny? I was just talking about that. Never idolize others. They will never live up to your expectations. Don't overanalyze your relationships. Stop playing games. A growing relationship can only be nurtured by genuineness. That's a big word, genuineness. Integrity. Authenticity. I really try hard not to be what I'm not. All right. So when people, as I said, when people put me on too high a pedestal, I go, excuse me a second, I'm still a human being, trying not to be a human doing. It's really, as long as I'm a human being, I am learning along with everybody else. I do try to share what I've learned. Yes, but that doesn't put me on any pedestal. And listen to this one. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends." Have any of you had that in your life where you were going totally down the wrong path? And you could see it later, and nobody said, "Hey, have you had a look at this for a second?" Not that you have to change, but have you had a look at it? And so I try very hard, if I have a viewer or if I have if I have a friend that I notice is doing something, and I will say to them, "Hey, this is just purely my opinion, and we know that it may not be right. But what I am seeing is X, Y, and Z." I always remember saying that to Beth when we first met Beth. I asked permission to hit her with the 2x4, and she didn't know what a 2x4 was, and so I told her. And then I said to her, "It appears to me that you are practicing suicide by lack of eating. And if that is so, I just want to know why. What is your reason for doing that?" And I always remember those early conversations with Beth, and it was amazing, some of the answers that she gave us so honestly. And I knew she was going to be a good friend for us all, because she didn't hide her truth. She didn't feel she needed to cover it up to make people think she was a better person than she really is. I loved that. Okay. Niesh is saying, "I heard you say that you try not to be a human doing instead of a human being. What's the difference?" Okay. I noticed in my life, I was always trying to impress people. I wanted them to think I was a better person than I really was. I spent a lot of my life, planting my garden so the neighbors would think I was a good gardener. Right. I don't know, do any of you relate to that? And then one year I went, why am I doing this? I want flowers that I enjoy. And I started putting the flowers I really liked on my back deck, where I spent much more time, and then planting them, making my front garden look, like a home and garden type ad. And so, that I was doing things to impress other people, or doing things to try and pretend I was, and I go, no, I just want to be. The shift was, I want to be who I am. And if people like me for that, that's great. And if they don't like me for that, I now plant things in my front garden that, will come up every year, and I don't have to worry about them. I prune them a bit, but other than that, it's not all those beautiful annuals in beautiful configurations that made it look like I was some sort of tapestry with flowers person. I gave that up. It saved myself a lot of money too. Does that make sense, Nyasha? I was not doing things to impress other people anymore. I was just going to be who I am. Yeah, Sarah, wow, you go back that far, Sarah? That's amazing that you go back that far in the 2x4, yeah. Actually, I must admit, we haven't had to do too many 2x4s recently. Oh, I'm glad you understand it. So you might want to ask yourself, where am I being a human doing rather than a human being? You really do want people to think you're different from, and that's why I said to you, don't take personal, it is a personal insult when people, say that you have challenges, because you do. We all do. And it's like, when I stop letting that trigger me, how many times I will go and somebody will go, well, never mind, dear. And I'm going, oh, so you think I look that old? I guess I do. I got white hair. But by the way, my brain still works. You don't have to treat me like I'm senile. Yeah, it's interesting. Let's be grateful to the people who make us happy. They are the charming gardeners who make our souls blossom. One of my greatest joys is to actually make Jody laugh. Right? I literally have a private mission, where did I make Jody smile today or laugh today? Right? I do that. And I wonder how many of you want to start thinking about that, about somebody that you care about. And you go, it is my mission today to make them smile. And sometimes it is, I get to do it 2 or 3 times in a day. And it's just like, I'll see something, or I know I've got certain emojis that are destined to make her smile. So I'll throw it up every now and then if I haven't found anything else on the internet that made me smile today. So it is, it gives me great pleasure to do that. And Jody's saying that's so endearing to me. And for those of you who know the incredible Manon, Manon and I send each other happy boxes. Right? Now, what's a happy box, you're saying? Well, it's very simple. We both like animals. And we know that Manon loves anything that's pink. So if in my travels I happen to see a picture of a pink house, I will copy it and I will send it. I don't need to put anything else. I'll just say, I thought of you today, and I'll put in the picture of the pink house. Or if I haven't seen anything pink recently, I'll just go and find some puppy pictures and put 3 of them in an email. I don't need to do anything else. You see, it tells her that I was thinking of her. And I know when she sees them, she's going to go, ah, at the puppies, but then also think, ah, Sal thought of me. I will still remember when Manon, talking about friendship, when Manon came to visit me. Wait, Sarah's going, I don't think you remember me. I'm the... Okay, can you give me another clue? Where were you before New York? No, that doesn't ring a bell with me. Are you a December person? I've got a feeling I know you for another reason, not for emojis. But I love it when you put your hands up. You know, I just do it like that. Okay, how about you email me again so I recognize the email address? Once that probably will trigger it for me. Yeah, thank you. That would help me. That's being a friend. You do understand, Sarah, I get a few emails. I know this may surprise you, Sarah, but you're not the only Sarah to ever email me. I know it's difficult to believe that there is somebody else with that name that emailed me. But I have to be honest with you, honey. It happens. They didn't know. I always have to smile with Becca because Becca was not our first Becca. One of the very first, in fact, my very first admin was Becca, and she lived in Australia. And so Becca was always Becca number 2 in my mind. She was never the Becca because the Becca was the one, in Australia. Yeah. So, remind me about your son, because that will help. If I don't recognize the email, then I certainly will recognize the story about your son. Okay. Thank you, Sarah. That's very friendly of you. I appreciate that. And so I look at it and go, if you understand that it was never my intent to not recognize you, and that I feel a bit stupid about that, but I know that's not what you would want me to feel. So I'm not going to go there. I'm just going to go, wow. I didn't remember that. Zig Ziglar said, if you're going to go looking for a friend, you're going to find that they're very difficult and very scarce. They're difficult to find. They're very scarce. If you go out to be a friend, you'll find them everywhere. Now, Sarah, may I repeat that because that's actually really funny. That's a great learning moment there, Sarah. And I would love to repeat it because I so relate to what you're saying. However, I need to give you a 2x4. But I need permission. Okay, so I was talking to Sarah about the fact she wasn't the only Sarah that had ever written to me. So she said, oh gosh, no, not at all. Now I feel silly. Why would you feel silly, Sarah? Don't do that to yourself. You feel silly because you thought I would remember. I think, this is about you thought I had an incredible memory. And I don't. You see, I'm 72. So I need a few more clues. That doesn't mean you should feel silly because I felt it was selfish of me. Well, if you want to beat up on yourself, you go right ahead, Sarah. We're not going to join you, right? Let us know when you're finished. Because we like the old Sarah that we had before that happened. Now, don't you dare beat up on yourself. Get over it. This is why we are here, Sarah. Who else Who else in the room related to what Sarah's reaction was? Now, I could have said it was not my intent to make you feel silly. You see, I know I didn't make Sarah feel silly. It's something she did to herself. It's not what I said. It's how she interpreted what I said. But so the great thing is, Sarah, that you have this wonderful sense of humor that has saved you probably all your life. I mean, and we value that. There's nothing greater in developing your emotional intelligence than your sense of humor, I think. When you can look at your stuff and laugh, not take it that seriously, but just laugh and go, well, guess I'm not perfect. How about that? Then there is such growth in that. I remember when I hit Jody over the head with the pretzel. Jody would turn herself into a pretzel to make everybody happy. And I just asked her one day whether, I think something almost like, do you do warm-up exercises so you can turn yourself into a pretzel like this? Because, I kept thinking how difficult it must be to turn yourself into a pretzel for everybody. This shaped pretzel for this person and this shaped pretzel for the next person. And, and the funny thing was she didn't even realize that she was doing it until the 2x4 hit. And then she knew. William Arthur Ward said, flatter me, and I may not believe you. Criticize me, and I may not like you. Ignore me, I may not forgive you. Encourage me, I will not forget you. Love me, and I may be forced to love you. So think about that if you're having problems communicating with other people in a positive way. If you like that quote, I'm going to take a screenshot of it, Jody. Hang on a second. Because I think that's one of those ones we need up. I'll put it up on the... Here we go. Yes, I think that's beautiful as well. I'm going to read it again. Flatter me, and I may not believe you. I think we've all had people who do that, and you just go, really? Okay. Criticize me, and I may not like you. Ignore me, and I may not forgive you. But encourage me, I will not forget you. Love me, and I may be forced to love you. I always tell the story about one of the very first and most serious trolls I ever had. And his name was Aussie Pimp. Quite honestly, it was in... Oh, who said that? Wait a minute. William Arthur Ward said it, Sarah. I'm going to put it up. I'll put it up on the resource page because it's a good one. And I'll actually probably put it up on Facebook as well because I think it's a great quote. But, I remember when I first met Aussie. First of all, it was in the days of blog TV, which, I was talking to Benji about this. Blog TV was only about 7 years ago, and look how far the whole development has come since then. We only had sort of the one platform way before we had YouTube Live or anything. And, it was amazing to me when I thought back that it was only 7 years ago. And anyway, I still don't know why I didn't nuke him just by his name, anybody that called himself a pimp, and so then I thought about it later and I hung on, and he insulted me quite severely. And he was an obvious troll who got his jollies out of being a troll. But for some reason, I never nuked him. And the more I got to know about him, the funnier he became. And then I found out he was totally not a troll in real life. He was a very, very smart cookie and still is, and a very, had a job that was, most people would never dream that he had. The job that he had was high security of the sort of person that when the royals came to visit, he was one of the high security people, in the line of fire type people. And it was at the time. And I then found out much later that at the time that I met him, he had fallen out of a third-story window. And I'm still not 100% sure how he did that. Apparently he was not drunk. Anyway, he had taken a tumble. One wonders whether it was security related, but he'd taken a tumble and he had smashed his heel and his lower legs, I believe. And when I met him, he was on very high painkillers, what do you call them? The serious ones, right? And so the person I met wasn't the real Oz. And somehow I knew that. Somehow I didn't nuke him. And it's always something that I say to my admins, be careful who you nuke. It may be another Oz. And Oz has turned out to be a great friend. Not only that, it was a two-way trade. When he was in Indonesia and had a heart attack, guess who he was texting from the ICU? And he's going, don't die laughing on this one, Sal. But I'm sitting in ICU. Oh no, first of all, he said, he even texted me from while he was in the ambulance being rushed to hospital, and he's going, Sal, just want to let you know. And that he sent me a picture of him looking at his best, who would do that? With all the bells and whistles and everything. And, he said, I know this will make you laugh. And it did. My first reaction was, oh my gosh. And then I looked at the picture and I went, that really is quite funny. And I went, couldn't you have shaved first, or whatever I sent back? You see, I didn't spend a whole lot of time feeling sorry for him because he already knows I'm a human being. He knows what I'm really feeling underneath that. So I just went, I don't think the white robe suits you too well, or whatever it was, that I said. And then when he was in ICU, he was texting me. And do you know, I don't mind telling you, however selfish this is, I was so happy I was that level of friend to him. That when he was all alone in Indonesia being rushed to ICU with a heart attack, that he took the time to talk to me. Imagine if I had nuked him in the days of blog TV. I would never have been able to be there for him when he needed me. And I cannot tell you how many times he has thanked me for that. And I just went, yeah, really. I'm probably your only friend, what can I say? So what I want you to think about, and I've said that of other people that I know, be careful who you drop off your friends list. You might be the only friend they have. Jodie's saying that she believes that humor like that can be life-saving. I think it can be for somebody like Oz and myself. Yes, I totally agree with you, Jodie. And I was forever saying to him, I can imagine the trouble you are for the nurses. Because I could imagine how much trouble he was being. Yeah, it's Oz. We all know that. Thank you, Jodie, for the reminder. I still didn't do the event calendar, so here we go. The scary part is, let me do it from, they're not in any given order. They just are the total countdown. For me, for those of you who need to know that Easter is 6 months away, it's amazing, isn't it? Spring is just 157 days away. Yes. For those of you who are romantics, Valentine's Day is just 4 months away. For those of you who have not finished your Christmas shopping, Christmas is only 72 days away. Nyasha asks, but Mama Sal, if he turned out to be such a good friend in the end, why was he so nasty to you at the beginning? I would like to suggest that he was on opioids. That was the word I was looking for. He was on very heavy opioids. He was in excruciating pain, and he was trying to find things to take his mind off his pain, and he did it by trolling. I don't think once he got off the opioids, he didn't need to do that in his life anymore. If any of you, and some of you have been on opioids, you know what it does to your mind. So, yeah. So Christmas, 72 days away, which for those of you who are in Canada, happy Thanksgiving, but American Thanksgiving, which we know is the important one, apparently. Not to us, but to the Americans, it's the important one. That's 1 month and 15 days away. I believe it's November the 28th. Daylight savings is coming up pretty fast. It's 21 days away. Pretty scary, huh? And because we know that Christmas is coming, winter is coming, please understand, I've done a little bit of research. I believe that if you want your cards to get delivered, it's a really good idea to have them in the mail by the first week of December, right? For those who want to be really sure, get those cards in the mail the last week of November, which means start getting them and writing them now. How many of you have finished your Christmas shopping? That's my question. I'm doing pretty well. I'm nearly done. And so I'm just working on it. I'm doing much less this year because I have much less this year. You bought wrapping paper today. You know what I'm doing, Sarah, because I'm trying to reuse and recycle. I've been collecting boxes. Whenever a little box arrives or a bigger box or whatever, I'm painting my boxes and then wrapping ribbon around them for Christmas. So I'm reusing the boxes that I have. And anybody want to see what I'm talking about? I think I can show you a picture. Hang on a second, somewhere here, pretty soon. Oh, there we go. So I'm doing this. All right, so there is a box that was actually an envelope box for invitations or something. And I just repainted it and used it. Yeah. So look for recycle, reuse. What I'm also thinking about is I've got a lot of tissue, from, I keep tissue whenever people give me presents. And I was thinking I might take some school glue and tissue and just Mod Podge, decoupage, whatever, a couple of boxes. I think that would be fun to do. Yeah, and Yash is saying, for some reason, I'm not in the Christmas mood yet. That's quite normal. I think, yes, and I quite honestly, I found out that one of the reasons I don't like Christmas is I was never prepared. that is one of the things I realized I was never prepared. And that's why I didn't like Christmas. Oh, would you like to see me do a video of using tissue paper, leftover tissue paper? I'd love to do that. Yeah, I've never done it. I just thought it would be interesting to do, because I've got quite a lot of Christmas type paper and leftover, you know what I've got as well? I've got leftover Christmas wrap that I'm never going to use again. Maybe I threw it out when I was cleaning out. I'll have to check, but yeah. Okay, I will, Jody will remind me about that because she's good about that. It is my intent. If I do it, I will record it. Yeah, it would be nice to see, wouldn't it? Never thought of it. Good. So everybody, thank you, Jody, for the reminder about the countdown. Even though I thought I'd got it under control, I ended up not having it under control. Isn't that amazing? I'm so human, aren't I? So I hope that in your own way that you got something out of this broadcast. I'm hoping, I'm just looking at my watch because I wanted to see where's my heart rate. I love watching how my heart rate gets affected by doing the broadcast. I wish you a wonderful week. I want to make sure that you all have the best Christmas you can possibly have. Life may not be going exactly the way you want it to, but you can still have the best Christmas you can possibly have if you work hard at that. When I say work hard at it, nothing comes by accident. I am not able to do 60 leg lifts because I didn't start with one. Right? If I didn't keep challenging myself, can I do 2 this week? I remember being really happy, Jody, when I could do 5, right? Yeah, I think I told you when I did 5, I went, wow, I got 5 knee lifts up today. So imagine how I felt when I did 60 this week. I'm going, that is amazing. What is it doing to my balance? What is it doing to my self-esteem? Oh, Sarah, it's a pleasure. My heart rate, honey, my resting heart rate is at 64 at the moment. And I think that's pretty good at my age. Nothing too shabby about that. In fact, it always makes my doctor smile. He goes, really. Sarah, I need you to know I was on heart medication. And I literally took, did the work that I needed to do to get rid of the drama in my life that they had to take me off because my blood pressure was dropping so much that they needed to get me off the pills in a hurry. So have a wonderful week, everybody. Kimmy, you've been quieter than normal today, so I hope you're okay. And if you're not, write to me, please, and let me know so that we can support you. All right, everybody, have a wonderful time. Beth, I don't know if you're still stocking the shelves, but be careful. Get a puppy and get some rest. Or do whatever you want to do. But, we love you too much, so please look after yourself. Jody, thanks for being a great admin and keeping control of my life. We really appreciate it. This is DearMamaSal saying have a wonderful week. Make it a wonderful week. And make somebody have a friend by being a friend to them. It's not just about us. It's like, I kept thinking that lady that I met, there's part of me that went, I wonder whether I was meant to give her a card so she could contact me. Yeah, Kimmy, the reason I said that, it's not like you to be that quiet during a broadcast, so I know things are not quite right. Or I was pretty sure that maybe that is true. That's what friends notice, right? So everybody have a best week that you can and be friends to one another. And most of all, of course, be a good friend to yourself. This is DearMamaSal saying, see you next week. Bye-bye for now.